The wind howled across the Arctic research station like a hungry beast, rattling windows and coating everything in sheets of crystalline ice. Dr. Rashida Patel adjusted her thermal imaging equipment for the 100th time that night, fighting against the extreme cold that threatened to freeze its delicate components. The Aurora Station, humanity's northernmost research facility, wasn't supposed to be this busy at 3 a.m., but something had triggered every sensor they had. Movement at bearing 045, distance approximately 2 kilometers, called out Dr. Thomas Harrison, his fingers flying across his keyboard. Whatever it is, it's massive and dropping fast. Rashida switched her feed to the station's primary radar. That can't be right. The energy signature doesn't match any known aircraft. She grabbed her secure phone, thumb hovering over the direct line to NORAD. As head of the facility's atmospheric research division, she had protocols to follow, but something about this felt different. The object, now visible on multiple instruments, was decelerating in a way that defied physics. No human aircraft could slow down that quickly without breaking apart. Before she could make the call, a blinding flash lit up the Arctic night like a second sun. The impact came moments later, sending tremors through the reinforced station walls. All stations, report. Rashida commanded, switching to the facility's internal communications. One by one, the other research sections checked in. No damage, but every instrument in the facility was going haywire. Colonel James Walsh, the station's military liaison, burst into the control room, already fully geared up. Dr. Patel, please tell me that was one of your experiments. Negative, Colonel. Whatever just landed out there, it's not one of ours. Rashida pulled up the thermal imaging display. Look at this heat signature. It's maintaining a constant temperature despite being surrounded by air that's 40 below zero. The colonel's expression hardened. I'm implementing security protocol Alpha 7. No one leaves the station without direct authorization. He paused, studying the readings. And Doctor? Get your team ready. I have a feeling we're going to need your expertise. Within hours, the Aurora Station transformed from a quiet research facility into the center of what could be humanity's most important moment. Military helicopters battled the Arctic storm, delivering specialized equipment and personnel. World leaders were being awakened with news that would change everything. Dr. Naomi Rodriguez, the station's xenobiologist, joined Rashida in the hastily assembled command center. She'd spent her career preparing for the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but her hands shook as she reviewed the preliminary data. These energy readings, they're deliberate. Structured. This isn't some natural phenomenon. The impact site, now surrounded by a perimeter of military vehicles and portable floodlights, pulsed with an otherworldly blue glow. The storm had intensified, as if nature itself was trying to hide what had fallen from the sky. Through the swirling snow, they could make out a shape, smooth, metallic, and absolutely impossible by human engineering standards. Movement. A soldier's voice cracked over the radio. The hull, it's changing configuration. Rashida and the others watched through cameras and sensors as sections of the vessel began to shift and flow like liquid metal. A seam appeared, spreading like a crack in ice. Light spilled out, not the harsh blue of before, but a warm, almost inviting golden glow. Colonel Walsh's hand tightened on his weapon. All units, hold position. Do not engage unless. His order was cut short as a figure emerged from the opening. Tall and graceful, it moved with an fluid elegance that immediately marked it as non-human. Its body seemed to shimmer, adapting to the brutal cold as easily as breathing. Behind it, two more figures appeared, each different in form but sharing that same otherworldly grace. Dr. Rodriguez grabbed Rashida's arm. They're demonstrating non-aggressive postures. See how they're keeping their appendages visible. This is deliberate first contact behavior. The lead figure raised what appeared to be an arm, palm-like appendage open. From it projected a sphere of light that expanded outward, creating a bubble of calm in the raging storm. When it spoke, Its words came not as sound but as patterns of light that danced through the air. The universal translators are going crazy, Rashida muttered, watching as the computers tried to decipher the display. Wait, there's a pattern emerging. Slowly, impossibly, the lights began to form into words everyone could understand. We come seeking dialogue with Earth. Your world stands at a crossroads of space and time. We offer knowledge, partnership, and a place among the stars. Colonel Walsh stepped forward, weapon lowered but ready. I don't have the authority to speak for Earth, but I can ensure your safety while our leaders are contacted. He paused, then added, assuming your intentions are peaceful. The alien's response came as a cascade of shimmering lights that somehow conveyed amusement. If our intentions were hostile, Colonel James Walsh, we would not have announced our arrival. We have watched, we have learned, and we have chosen this moment with care. Humanity is ready, or at least, ready enough. As if to emphasize their words, the storm suddenly cleared, revealing a sky filled with more stars than anyone had ever seen from Earth. The aurora borealis danced overhead, but now it seemed to move with purpose, forming patterns too regular to be natural. My God, Rashida whispered, understanding dawning. They've been here all along, haven't they? In the lights we studied, the atmospheric anomalies we could never quite explain. The aliens' lights pulsed in what seemed like confirmation. We have watched your species grow, struggle, and persist. Now, we offer you a choice. The galaxy is vast, filled with wonders and dangers beyond your imagining. Will you face them as equals, or remain isolated on your world? As dawn broke over the Arctic horizon, humanity stood on the brink of its greatest adventure. In the coming hours, governments would scramble, markets would panic, and religions would face their greatest test. But in that moment, in the pristine Arctic snow, a small group of scientists and soldiers became the first humans to know, without doubt, that we were not alone. And more importantly, we were not unwatched, not forgotten, and not without hope for a future among the stars. The next 48 hours transformed the Aurora Station into the world's most important diplomatic facility. Representatives from major world powers arrived on specially cleared flights, their usual political rivalries temporarily forgotten in the face of something far bigger than earthly disputes. Dr. Rashida Patel found herself working alongside Dr. Jackson Wei, Earth's leading linguistic expert, as they attempted to build a more sophisticated translation system. The aliens' light-based communication was proving both simpler and more complex than anyone had anticipated. It's not just language, Dr. Wei explained, gesturing at the patterns of light dancing across his specialized display. Each burst of light carries multiple layers of meaning, emotional context, historical references, even mathematical concepts. They're not just talking to us, they're trying to teach us how to think in 4 dimensions. The alien delegation, now identified as representatives of something they called the luminous confluence, had established a temporary embassy within their ship. The vessel's exterior had transformed, creating structures that somehow merged seamlessly with human technology while maintaining its otherworldly aesthetic. The lead alien, who had taken to calling itself Resonance, in translation, was meeting with United Nations Security Council members when the first breakthrough occurred. Dr. Wei's eyes widened as new patterns emerged on his screen. They're not just showing us their language, they're showing us how they learned ours. Rashida leaned forward, watching as complex mathematical formulas resolved themselves into linguistic patterns. They analyzed our broadcasts, our internet traffic, everything we've ever sent into space, but this is more than that. They've been studying how we learn. In the makeshift conference room, Resonance's light patterns shifted into a perfect holographic representation of Earth's internet infrastructure. Your species thinks in networks, it explained, its translation becoming clearer with each exchange. You build connections, between people, between machines, between ideas. This is why we chose now to reveal ourselves. Ambassador Li Chen from China leaned forward. You mentioned our world stands at a crossroads. What exactly does that mean? Resonance's form shimmed, its lights forming complex geometric patterns. Your solar system occupies a unique position in spacetime. Think of the galaxy as a vast ocean, with currents of gravity and energy flowing between stars. Earth sits at a junction of these currents, a natural crossroads for interstellar travel. A cosmic shipping lane, murmured U.S. Secretary of State Rebecca Thompson. And I'm guessing we're not the only ones who've noticed this strategic location. The aliens' lights pulsed in what they were learning to recognize as confirmation. The luminous confluence is not the only civilization aware of Earth's position. We chose to make contact now because others are coming. Some with intentions less harmonious than ours. The revelation sent a ripple of tension through the room. Colonel Walsh, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. Are you offering protection? We offer partnership, Resonance corrected. Earth's position makes it valuable, but your species' potential makes you invaluable. Your creativity, your adaptability, your unique way of solving problems, these are resources as precious as any strategic location. As if to demonstrate this point, Resonance projected a series of images showing human innovations, everything from the wheel to quantum computers. Each invention was accompanied by light patterns expressing what seemed to be admiration. Your species went from first flight to landing on your moon in less than 7 decades, Resonance continued. You've taken concepts that other civilizations spent millennia perfecting and reimagined them in ways we never considered. This is why we're here, not to protect you, but to learn from you even as we help you take your place among the stars. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't being offered charity or protection, they were being recruited. But as the discussions continued, Dr. Wei noticed something in the light patterns that others had missed. Behind the diplomatic exchanges and technological demonstrations, there was another layer of communication. Urgency. Concern. Perhaps even fear. Rashida, he whispered, pulling her aside. Look at these secondary patterns. They're not just preparing us for our place in the galaxy. They're preparing us for something specific. Something immediate. Before she could respond, every screen in the facility suddenly blazed with warning signals. High above the Earth, multiple objects had just emerged from what the alien sensors identified as subspace. The new arrival's energy signatures were nothing like the luminous confluence's ship. Resonance's form flared brightly. It seems our time for preparation has been cut short. The Drachnid Imperium has arrived earlier than anticipated. The aliens' next words sent chills through everyone present. They believe they have prior claim to this sector of space. And they do not share our policy of seeking permission before taking what they want. In that moment, as new lights appeared in the Arctic sky, harsh, red, and definitely not natural, humanity realized that their first step into galactic society would also be a trial by fire. The question was no longer just whether humanity was ready for the stars, but whether they could prove themselves worthy of them in the face of those who would deny them the chance to try. Red lights blazed across the Arctic sky as the Drachnid ships took up attack positions in Earth's orbit. The Aurora Station's sophisticated sensors, now enhanced by luminous confluence technology, displayed a terrifying array of weapons being charged and aimed at strategic locations across the planet. They're making quite the statement, Colonel Walsh observed grimly, studying the tactical display. The Drachnid vessels were massive, their design all sharp angles and threatening protrusions, a stark contrast to the organic elegance of the Confluence ship. Resonance's light patterns shifted rapidly, communicating with both their ship and the approaching fleet. The Drachnid Imperium claims they registered mining rights to this solar system 3,000 of your years ago. The alien paused, lights flickering in what they now recognized as confusion. They seem uninterested in the fact that your civilization was already here. Dr. Wei's translation matrix suddenly lit up with new patterns. They're broadcasting planet-wide, he announced, fingers flying across his console. Translating now. A harsh, guttural voice filled the command center, attention primitive species designation, human. This system falls under Drachnid Imperium authority by right of first claim. Your unauthorized development of this space is noted and will cease. You have 12 orbital periods of your moon to evacuate to designated preservation zones. Resistance will result in immediate pacification. Secretary Thompson's face hardened. They want to relocate the entire human race. To where exactly? Resonance's reply was grim. The Drachnid Imperium maintains several cultural preservation zones, effectively planetary reserves where they contain species they consider insufficiently advanced to hold territorial rights. The conditions are survivable, if not pleasant. Like a cosmic zoo, Rashida muttered. Not going to happen. The situation deteriorated further when reports began flowing in from major cities worldwide. The Drachnid ultimatum had triggered panic, and with panic came chaos. Stock markets crashed, religious organizations proclaimed both doom and salvation, and governments teetered on the brink of collapse. But something else was happening too. In universities, research labs, and tech companies around the world, humans were doing what they did best, innovating under pressure. The Confluence's Advanced Technology Database, shared as part of their initial diplomatic package, was being devoured by eager minds looking for solutions. Dr. Rashida Patel found herself coordinating with a global network of scientists, each bringing unique insights to the problem. The Drachnid's technological advantage was overwhelming, but they had overlooked something crucial: humans had been preparing for alien invasions in their fiction for centuries. Every wild theory, every imagined scenario, was now being examined for viable strategies. Then came the first setback. The primary communication array, vital for coordinating with both the Confluence ship and the global scientific network, suddenly went dark. Initial investigation revealed sabotage, human sabotage. The Sons of Earth, Colonel Walsh explained, reviewing security footage. Anti-alien extremists. They believe any contact with extraterrestrial life will lead to human extinction. They'd rather see us isolated than risk changing our culture. But even as security forces dealt with the saboteurs, something remarkable was happening. Humans worldwide were adapting the Confluence's light-based communication technology in unexpected ways. Social media platforms were being modified to incorporate emotional light patterns. Teenagers were developing new forms of slang based on geometric light configurations. Dr. Wei burst into the command center, his usually calm demeanor shattered by excitement. You need to see this. Look at how they're using the technology. On his tablet, thousands of light patterns merged and flowed, creating a communication network that bypassed traditional infrastructure. Humans weren't just learning the alien language, they were reinventing it, combining it with everything from emoji to binary code to create something entirely new. Resonance observed these developments with increasing brightness patterns that suggested amazement. This is unprecedented. Your species isn't just adapting our technology, you're transforming it. The Drachnid Imperium's assessment of your development level is fundamentally flawed. But would this human ingenuity be enough? The Drachnid fleet was growing, their weapons still primed. Earth's military forces, even with hastily adapted Confluence technology, stood little chance against their overwhelming firepower. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Rashida noticed something odd in the Drachnid's energy signatures. Every time humans sent out a burst of their hybrid light communications, the Drachnid ship's shields fluctuated slightly. Their technology is rigid, she realized. They've optimized everything for efficiency, but they never considered that someone might use communications technology in such an unpredictable way. Our primitive adaptations are causing their systems to work harder than they should have to. It wasn't much, but it was a weakness. And if humanity had proved anything throughout its history, it was that they excelled at turning small advantages into game-changing opportunities. As the lunar deadline approached, Earth prepared for its greatest test. The Drachnid Imperium was about to learn that declaring humans insufficiently advanced might have been their first and last mistake in this confrontation. Humanity wasn't just ready to join the galactic community, they were about to show the cosmos exactly what primitive humans could do when pushed into a corner. The question was, would it be enough to prevent the approaching storm of fire and light that threatened to reshape human civilization forever? The Aurora station hummed with activity as humanity prepared its response to the Drachnid ultimatum. The discovery of their system's vulnerability to Earth's hybrid communications was promising, but exploiting it would require something unprecedented: global cooperation on a scale never before achieved. "Look at these readings," Rashida explained to the hastily assembled council of scientists and military leaders. "Every time we transmit using our modified light language, their shield harmonics destabilize for 3.7 microseconds. It's not much, but it proves they never expected anyone to communicate this way," Dr. Wei finished. "They optimized their technology for maximum efficiency, assuming everyone would follow the same logical progression of technological development. They never accounted for human chaos theory. The luminous confluence ship had positioned itself between Earth and the Drachnid fleet, not as a shield, it was far too small for that, but as a symbol. Resonance's light patterns had taken on a new complexity, suggesting both concern and what seemed like anticipation. Your species continues to surprise us, the alien communicated. No other civilization has ever attempted to modify our communication protocols. The mathematical principles were considered immutable. Humans have a bad habit of ignoring what's supposed to be impossible, Colonel Walsh remarked dryly. The question is, can we weaponize our bad habits? The answer came from an unlikely source. University students across the globe, working through social media networks, had started creating what they called light memes, complex patterns of communication that carried multiple layers of meaning, often humorous or absurd. These patterns, when broadcast, seemed to cause even greater disruption to Drachnid systems. Their technology can't process the illogical nature of the transmissions, Rashida realized. It's like trying to divide by zero. Their systems attempt to analyze every layer of meaning simultaneously and begin to overload. As the deadline approached, Earth's strategy took shape. It wasn't just about defending against the Drachnid fleet, it was about proving humanity's worth as a galactic civilization. The plan they developed was exactly the kind of beautiful insanity that made humans unique. Global internet infrastructure was quickly modified to transmit light-based communications. Social media companies, tech giants, and even gaming networks were transformed into nodes in a vast communication web. Every smartphone, laptop, and digital billboard would become part of humanity's response. The Drachnid commander, growing increasingly frustrated with Earth's refusal to surrender, opened a channel to deliver a final warning. Instead of cowering, humanity responded with a coordinated burst of communication unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Millions of human voices, translated into light, each adding their own layer of meaning, emotion, and often deliberate nonsense. Memes became weapons, jokes became shields, and the very chaos of human communication became their greatest defense. The effect on the Drachnid fleet was immediate and spectacular. Their shields, designed to process information in logical, orderly patterns, began to fluctuate wildly. Ships veered out of formation as their navigation systems tried to comprehend the impossible flood of data. By the eternal stars, Resonance's patterns displayed what could only be described as awe. You've turned communication itself into both art and weapon. This is unprecedented. But the Drachnid Imperium hadn't become a galactic power by giving up easily. Their ships began to adapt, attempting to filter out the chaotic transmissions. That's when humanity unleashed Phase 2 of their plan. Every major orchestra on Earth began broadcasting classical music, translated into light patterns. Street musicians added their own rhythms. Dance crews contributed their movements, translated into luminous equations. Earth's artistic expression became a weapon that no logical system could fully comprehend. The Drachnid ship's attempts to adapt only made things worse. Their rigid, optimization-focused technology couldn't handle the constant flood of human creativity. Systems began to fail across their fleet as their computers attempted to process everything from Shakespeare sonnets to cat videos, all translated into increasingly complex light patterns. Dr. Wei's translation matrix suddenly picked up new transmissions, not from the Drachnid fleet, but from other points in space. Other civilizations were watching, and they were fascinated. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, they were putting on a show for the galaxy. We're not just fighting them, Rashida realized. We're showing everyone watching that humanity has something unique to offer. We're turning an invasion into an audition. As the Drachnid fleet struggled to maintain cohesion, one thing became clear: humanity's path to the stars wouldn't be determined by their technology level or military might, but by their ability to think in ways no other species had considered. They were demonstrating that sometimes the best response to superior firepower was superior imagination. The question now was whether the Drachnid Imperium would recognize their defeat gracefully, or if humanity's creative defense would need to become a more aggressive offense. Either way, Earth had made its statement to the galaxy: they weren't just ready for the cosmic stage, they were ready to rewrite the rules of the performance itself. The Drachnid fleet hung in Earth's orbit, their once precise formation now scattered and unstable. Their ship systems continued to struggle against the overwhelming flood of human expression transformed into weaponized light. But the Imperium had one final card to play: desperation. Multiple energy signatures detected, called out a technician at Aurora Station. They're charging primary weapons. The Drachnid commander's transmission cut through the artistic chaos: if we cannot claim this system, then neither shall anyone else. Prepare for planetary sterilization. But humanity's display hadn't just impressed the luminous confluence. As the Drachnid weapons powered up, new signatures appeared in Earth's orbit. Ships of different designs, representing civilizations from across the galaxy, dropped out of faster-than-light travel. "Well," Colonel Walsh remarked, "looks like we drew a crowd." The newcomers positioned themselves strategically around Earth, their presence alone making the Drachnid fleet pause. Resonance's light patterns brightened with what humans had learned to recognize as satisfaction. "The Galactic Assembly has taken notice of Earth's demonstration," Resonance explained. "Your response to the Drachnid ultimatum has shifted certain perspectives about emerging civilizations." Dr. Wei's translation matrix was overwhelmed with incoming transmissions as representatives from various alien civilizations began to communicate. Each message expressed variations of the same sentiment: humanity had proven itself worthy of notice. The Stellar Republic of Proxima offered trade agreements. The Silicon Consciousness requested cultural exchange programs. Even the notoriously reclusive Quantum Collective expressed interest in studying human creativity. But it was Dr. Rashida Patel who saw the true opportunity. "We're not just defending our right to exist," she announced to the assembled leaders. "We're showing the galaxy a new way to solve problems. Why not make Earth's unique position mean something more than just a strategic location?" Her proposal was ambitious: transform Earth from a contested territory into a galactic hub of innovation and cultural exchange. A place where different civilizations could come together to explore new ways of thinking, communicating, and creating. The Drachnid commander, watching their tactical advantage evaporate, made one final attempt to salvage their position. "The Imperium's claim predates all others. We demand." They were cut off by a burst of light from Earth, not a weapon or a defense, but an invitation. Using their hybrid communication system, humanity broadcast images of Earth's greatest achievements alongside its most humbling failures, its moments of triumph and its lessons learned from disaster. They showed their art, their music, their endless capacity to adapt and grow. "We don't deny your historical claim," Secretary Thompson transmitted to the Drachnid fleet. "We simply offer something better than conquest: partnership. Earth doesn't need to be owned. It needs to be shared." The response from the gathered civilizations was immediate and overwhelming. Light patterns of agreement filled Earth's orbit like a new constellation. Even the Drachnid ship's aggressive posture began to soften as their analysts processed the potential benefits of cooperation over conquest. Over the next few hours, something unprecedented in galactic history took shape. The Aurora Station, where Earth's first alien contact had occurred just days before, became the site of a new kind of diplomatic summit. Representatives from civilizations spanning the galaxy gathered to discuss not just Earth's future, but a new model for galactic cooperation. The Drachnid Imperium, faced with the choice between isolation or participation in this new endeavor, chose adaptation, something they had criticized humans for doing just days earlier. Their rigid protocols began to show the first signs of flexibility. As the sun rose over the Arctic Circle, casting light across the snow and ice, Earth had become something more than just another world at the crossroads of space. It had become a symbol of what was possible when different ways of thinking came together. "You know," Dr. Wei said to Rashida as they watched representatives from a dozen different species attempt to decode a human meme, "we spent centuries wondering if we were alone in the universe, hoping we'd be ready when we found out we weren't." "And were we?" she asked. He gestured to where a Drachnid scientist was earnestly discussing the mathematical properties of music with a human composer, while a silicon consciousness avatar attempted to understand the concept of interpretive dance. "Ready? Maybe not. But we were exactly what we needed to be, human." Turns out that was more than enough. In the years that followed, Earth would become known throughout the galaxy not just as a strategic location, but as a place where the impossible became possible, where different ways of thinking collided and combined to create something new. The Aurora Station, expanded and enhanced, became the first of many facilities dedicated to bridging the gap between different species and cultures. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by being the strongest or the most advanced, but by being uniquely, chaotically, wonderfully human. And as ships from across the galaxy began establishing regular routes to Earth, bringing with them new ideas and opportunities, one thing became clear: the universe would never be quite the same. And that was exactly as it should be.